have the Monday night doubleheader to start the season. Drew Brees will be a part of that in the Adrian Peterson Bowl, Saints versus the Vikings. But of course, Drew started his career in San Diego. He was in the same draft as Ladainian Tomlinson. Pretty good draft haul. By the way, Ladainian, only Emmitt Smith more rushing touchdowns in NFL history than number 21, and the Powder Blues still one of the best uniforms of all time. LT up next tonight. Let's go to the stage and Chris Berman.
A beautiful evening still here in Canton, and another MVP running back. In the 2001 draft, Ladainian Tomlinson, a 2,000-yard back with TCU, was selected 5th overall by the San Diego Chargers. Pretty soon, they started to crank up the old song, San Diego Superchargers. First 8 seasons, always 1,000 yards. 2003, in addition to 1,600-yard season, Ladainian caught 100 balls out of the backfield. In 2004 through 2005, he tied a record that had stood since 1965, held by a Hall of Famer who's with us tonight, Lenny Moore. 18 straight games with a touchdown. 2006, Ladainian was NFL MVP, 115 yards rushing, a record 31 touchdowns. His 186 points broke the record of another Hall of Famer, Paul Hornung, that had only stood since 1960. No wonder San Diego won the AFC West 5 times in 6 years. When it was said and done, 18,000 plus yards from scrimmage, 5th all time. 163 touchdowns, topped only by Jerry Rice and Emmitt Smith. He's been the Walter Payton Man of the Year. No wonder he is one of the youngest to be enshrined here. Only 38 years old, only 6 have entered the Hall before their 38th birthday. To present Ladainian Tomlinson, his longtime caddy, if you will, caddy, Chargers fullback, O'Neal.
When you're blocking for the greatest running back of all time, you have a lot of responsibilities.
Tomlinson leaping over the top, touchdown Chargers.
Ladainian Tomlinson was born in Rosebud, Texas, came of age at TCU, and truly made his legend on the West Coast.
It was unbelievable. The fans, the players, we all were so blessed and so grateful to be able to play with one of the greatest running backs, one of the greatest players that the game has ever seen.
The consensus All-American was the Chargers' first-round pick in 2001, the 5th player taken overall. And soon after, he electrified the NFL.
He was lightning in the bottle.
And there he goes, chased from behind, touchdown, San Diego!
LT could do it all, earning 3 All-Pro nods and 5 Pro Bowl selections, and leading the Chargers to 5 playoff appearances in 9 seasons.
Very rarely now in the National Football League do you see a running back as the focal point of a team.
In 2006, he reached unprecedented heights.
Ladainian Tomlinson, one step closer to football immortality.
He set a league record with 31 total touchdowns, led the league in rushing, and was named MVP and Offensive Player of the Year.
When he breaks the record at 31 touchdowns, I'm like, okay, I always tell him, get on my hip and don't dip. And I'm so nervous. I know this guy's gonna score. It's Ladainian. We're from 2 yards, 3 yards out. So he's gonna score. I'm like, I'm the focal point. I'm gonna make this big block. And, you know, he's gonna give me the high five. And I get jello legs. I fall down. I'm crawling on the ground trying to get up to make a block. And I miss my block. And still the great one was able to get in the end zone.
Way to go! Good job, big boy. That's why you're the greatest. That's why you're the greatest.
Beyond his otherworldly talent, Tomlinson distinguished himself with his equally impressive work ethic.
I think a lot of people don't know how astute he was to the game. Ladainian on Tuesday, he and I would come in and watch film. go watch the upcoming opponent, do the extra things, in the meeting room. And it was a bond because you knew that if you gave this guy a chance, you got to see a guy do some things that no one has been able to do.
Adding to his unique mix of skill and tenacity was another defining trait, one that played a pivotal role in propelling him to Canton: character.
Ladainian's values off the field are just amazing.
The 2006 Walter Payton Man of the Year impacted the city of San Diego and his NFL teammates with more than just his presence on the football field.
He's an amazing father. He's an amazing husband.
I love you, Torch.
He's an amazing person. When you think about Ladainian Tomlinson, everyone knows what kind of player he was. This guy electrified the National Football League. I think he's a better person, his player, and that's hard to say. I'm honored to present my friend and teammate, Ladainian Tomlinson, for enshrinement into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Ladies and gentlemen, presenting Ladainian Tomlinson for enshrinement into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Lorenzo Neal.
Good evening. It's a privilege to be here tonight to share my honor and story with you. Football has given me so much. On this day, it is truly humbling to share with you. To the TCU fans, San Diego fans, thank you for your love and support. Jet fans and all fans, your cheers inspired me to always dig deeper and run harder. At the same time you inspired me, I hope I inspired you with the passion I play with. This great honor provides me the opportunity to acknowledge and express my gratitude first to God, my dear family, and to all who have inspired me, supported my dreams, taught and trained me. Without all of you and the hundreds of others I won't have a chance to mention, I wouldn't have been able to fulfill my vision of playing in the National Football League. All the men on this stage who played this great game understand our responsibility extends beyond the football field. We don't merely represent ourselves. We represent the game, our team, our community. To play in the NFL is an honor, a privilege, not simply a right. I grew up watching, idolizing, and dreaming about running the football like the legendary Jim Brown, the late Walter Payton, and the all-time leading rusher, Emmitt Smith. Today, I stand on the shoulders of these great men and with all of you on this stage tonight. Before speaking about those who supported and guided me, the principal reason I am standing here is God, who gave me my ability, my purpose. Since I was a child, I've had a very personal relationship with God. There are so many examples throughout my life where I envisioned something before it happened, or knew the experience I was about to have would change my life, and knew this insight came from God. For example, at 6, I actually told my mother I was going to play in the NFL. At 7, I asked her to buy me a weight set because I needed to get bigger if I was going to make it to the NFL. And that next Christmas, one was sitting under our tree. 12, I knew the youth football camp I signed up for would change my life. At 14, my pastor offering me a prophecy that said, if I continue to honor him, God would take me places I could never imagine. Something I never imagined, standing on this stage in Canton, Ohio. God gives us all the ability to envision and achieve our destiny. My blessing was knowing this at an early age and recognizing it came from him. In the small town of Marlin, Texas, where my family is originally from, high school football was our NFL. As an 8-year-old, I fell in love with football because my older cousin, Broderick Lowe, was a high school football wide receiver. I sat on the fence outside the field watching him. Broderick, not only were you my inspiration, you have been a father figure throughout my life. People ask me, who do you get your work ethic from? It was my mom. I was motivated to work hard by watching her constantly confronting and conquering life's challenges. Seeing her get up early, go to work, come home late, work 2 jobs, make sure we were clothed and fed. That's what I saw. Never a complaint. Mom, thank you for your love, honesty, strength, and belief in me. You taught me to listen to others and treat everyone with respect. It was my mom's personal sacrifice that led to my first meeting with one of my football idols. When I was 12 and seriously lacking in any self-confidence as an athlete, I spotted a flyer at the Boys and Girls Club. It had Emmitt Smith's picture on it. I thought it was Emmitt's football camp. Actually, it was the great Cowboys tight end Jay Novacek's camp. And Emmitt and other legendary Cowboys were scheduled to attend. I rushed home and said, Mom, Emmitt Smith is having a football camp. I have to go. She looked at the flyer and replied, that's too much money, baby. I don't know if we can make that happen. A couple of months later, Mom called me into the room and said, remember that Jay Novacek camp you wanted to go to? I said, yes, ma'am. She continued, well, I've saved the money and you'll be able to go. Wow. That's where I first saw Michael Irvin, Emmitt, Jay, Darryl Johnston, and other Cowboys greats. I vividly remember the first practice. We were learning a handoff drill, and I lined up with all the other running backs. Emmitt suddenly jumps into the line and hands the ball off to me. Then later that evening, I was heading upstairs to dinner when Emmitt was coming. Are you all right, kid? I answered, yeah, I'm fine. But truth was, I wasn't. I was awestruck because of 2 astonishing moments with my idol. A 12-year-old kid who entered camp lacking in self-confidence as an athlete, left on top of the world, feeling he could truly fulfill his dream to play in the National Football League. I began my high school football career in Marlin, playing varsity as a freshman. When I was a sophomore, we moved back to Waco. The first thing I did was visit my new school to meet the head football coach, Leroy Coleman. I thought I was the best thing since sliced bread. So when he asked me, what position do you play? I answered proudly with my chest puffed out, I play running back and outside linebacker. He looked at me and replied, "No, you don't. We have enough running backs. You're going to play fullback." That was an important lesson, to be selfless. I played fullback and outside linebacker for the next 2 years. Thank you to all my teachers, coaches, teammates, and classmates at Waco University High, including my running backs coach, Walter Brown, who was another father figure in my life and helped prepare me for college. At TCU, thank you. At TCU, I began as an 18-year-old teenager and left a young man. What made TCU so special is that it provided academic rigor with combined Christian values and family values. My college career got off to a really rough start. The team won just one game, and the coach who recruited me was released. I first thought I should transfer, but when I shared this with my mother, she said, "Don't quit on your teammates. Be part of the solution. Be part of the change. Anything worth having is worth fighting for." Another life lesson. I stayed, and the new coaching staff led by head coach Dennis Franchione and defensive coordinator Gary Patterson, now head coach of the Horned Frogs, led us to 3 straight bowl games. To my teammates at TCU, you were my teammates on the field, in the locker room, and are my teammates for life. Those of you who are here today, I would like you to stand for a second. Thank you, guys. Thank you to the Spanos family. Dean, your family gave me my first opportunity in the NFL, and now as your special assistant, my most recent. My friendship with you, Susie, John, and AG is one of the most important in my life. When I got to the NFL, it seemed all I worked for and dreamed about for 15 years had come true. And I was so focused and determined to exceed and excel almost to a fault. Initially, all I did was practice, study, and train to be the best football player I can be. I spent 9 years with the San Diego Chargers. Head coach, Marty Schottenheimer, was the best coach I ever had, and we won 5 division titles. Marty, would you and your wife, Pat, please stand to be acknowledged? I was honored to play alongside many outstanding players, like the late Junior Seau, Drew Brees, Rodney Harrison, Curtis Conway, Terrell Fletcher, Doug Flutie, and my first fullback, Fred McCrary. After Fred's departure from the Chargers, my presenter tonight, Lorenzo Neal, became our fullback. A selfless player, always clearing the way so others could shine. He taught me what it meant to be a teammate. I had a special bond with our offensive line during the run we had in 2006. Much of my success was due to their commitment and sacrifice. With all my Charger teammates, please stand. Love you guys. Thank you. Now to the Jets. Woody Johnson, you gave me the opportunity to play 2 more years, and they were 2 of the most meaningful of my career, and gave me the opportunity to come full circle, to mentor some of the young, talented athletes coming into the organization, just as so many great Charger champions have mentored me. With all my former teammates and team staff members, please stand to be recognized. Come on, get up. You guys deserve it. You guys deserve it. Thank you to the scores of trainers, physical therapists, and medical teams who were integral to my football career. I was fortunate to play 11 years and never underwent 1 surgery, due in part to the team of therapists who work with me. Alex Guerrero, thank you. A special thanks to Todd Durkin, my personal trainer. Your passion and training challenged me to achieve my full potential. In 2012, I joined the NFL Network. You have been an amazing during my transition from playing the game to analyzing the game. Earlier, I shared the important influence TCU had on my life. But most importantly, if it wasn't for TCU, I wouldn't have met my beautiful bride, Torsha. She came to the university as a freshman and we fell in love. During my first 2 seasons in San Diego, Torsha continued at TCU. She has always known my heart and has had the confidence, integrity, and maturity to both be patient with me and to speak directly when necessary. We knew we were destined to be husband and wife. Once we married, she moved and completed her education at the University of California, San Diego. I soon realized I had dual commitments. One was to be the best football player I could be. The other was learning to be there for my wife as she was always there for me. Her love and commitment were already there when I began my career with the Chargers. She is my queen. We have been together for 17 years, virtually half our lives. And together, we're raising amazing children. Our beautiful son and daughter, Dalen and Dea. Dalen and Dea, our love for you is infinite. You inspire me every day to be the best dad, the best man I can be. As my father told me, I give you a good name. You represent the next generation of this great name. Respect it and be proud to share it. Torsha's parents, Robert and Torsha, are truly a godsend. Throughout my career, they were there to help ease my burdens. You're still intimately involved in our lives, as is my mother. As grandparents and residents, I cannot imagine life without you. I have a birth brother and sister, LeVar and Londria Tomlinson, and a half-sister, Felicia, as well as 3 half-brothers, Terry and his wonderful wife, Sharon, Charles, and the late Ronald McLean. Thank you for a lifetime of love and support. To all my family, aunts and uncles, nephews and nieces, cousins, and those I haven't mentioned, thank you for your love and support. To my late father, Oliver Tomlinson, for supporting his entire family He had such a big heart. Everyone who knew him talked about how much he always gave to everyone. No question, I inherited his heart. I also want to acknowledge my late stepfather, Herman Chappelle, who came into my life when I was 9, a hard worker and great provider. Thank you for bringing Herman Jr., Michael, Lonnie, and my niece Stephanie Williams into my life. Thank you for your love, guys. Earlier, I spoke about how God has placed people in my life at critical moments. There are a few more. Rose and Emmett Hughes, you're not just part of my family. You are my family, period. Clarence Shellman, my Chargers running backs coach. You taught me how to proudly wear the mantle of professionalism. And lastly, two people very important to our family, our CPA and financial advisor, John Palguda, and our personal family assistant, Mark Amato. Both of you play a huge part in the success of our lives, personally and professionally. If this was my last day on earth, and this my final speech, this is the message I'll leave with you. The story of a man I never met. My great-great-great-grandfather, George. 170 years ago, George was brought here in chains on a slave ship from West Africa. His last name, Tomlinson, was given to him by the man who owned him. Tomlinson was the slave owner's last name. What extraordinary courage it must have taken for him to rebuild his life after the life he was born to was stolen. How did he reclaim his identity, his dignity, when he had no freedom to choose for himself? I grew up on the land of a former slave plantation, and although I didn't know this as a child, it is where my great-great-great-grandfather tilled the soil. A few years ago, I visited that same plantation in Central Texas with my family and stood in the slave quarters where he lived. It's now named Tomlinson Hill. My name began with the man who owned my great-great-great-grandfather. Now, it's proudly carried by me, my children, my extended family. People stop me on the street because they know me as LT, the football player. But after football, people have begun to recognize me as Ladainian Tomlinson. Not simply for what I did as a football player, but for who I am as a man. The family legacy that began in such a cruel way has given birth to generations of successful, caring Tomlinsons. I firmly believe that God chose me to help bring two races together under one last name, Tomlinson. I'm of mixed race, and I represent America. My story is America's story. All our ancestors, unless we're American Indian, came from another country, another culture. Football is a microcosm of America. All races, religions, and creeds living, playing, competing side by side. I'm almost finished. When you are part of a team, you understand your teammates, their strengths and weaknesses, and work together toward the same goal to win a championship. In this context, I advocate we become Team America. In sports, we're evaluated on our desire, ability, and given a chance to compete. America is the land of opportunity. Let's not slam the door on those who may look or sound different from us. Rather, let's open it wide for those who believe in themselves, that anything is possible, and are willing to compete and take whatever risk necessary to work hard to succeed. I'm being inducted into the Hall of Fame because my athletic ability created an opportunity for me to excel in the sport I love. When we open the door for others to compete, we fulfill the promise of one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. On America's team, let's not choose to be against one another. Let's choose to be for one another. My great-great-great-grandfather had no choice. We have one. I pray we dedicate ourselves to be the best team we can be, working and living together, representing the highest ideals of mankind, leading the way for all nations to follow. One of the most eloquent orators of our time said it best in his farewell address. Paraphrasing and humbly building upon what President Obama said, we all have to try harder, show up, dive in, and stay at it. I am asking you to believe in your ability to bring about change, to hold fast to the faith and the idea whispered by slaves. Yes, we can. Thank you very much. Thank you for this honor. God bless you.